Hello everyone. Today we're talking about the magical circle and classical magic. So this is something that's actually pretty important. Some traditions, particularly a lot of times in modern magic, some traditions, they don't do anything without a magical circle. In classical magic, this is not really true. It depends on what you're working with. You certainly see it in most grimoires. The magical circle. So, the circle is a symbol of the infinite. The circle, first of all, is a boundary that is normally marked upon the ground, and it protects you from malevolent influences. The idea is that when you're practicing magic, it could be like moths to a flame. Spirits could be drawn towards your workings. You might notice some weird poltergeist activity, things like that. Now, for that won't necessarily go away because you're using a magic circle during your workings. For something like that, you may have to do a little bit more of an elaborate type of thing, cleansing. But at least during an operation, I think that if you're working two things, if you're working with like a hot types of spirits, by hot or cool spirits, what I mean is there's some spirits that can be hostile. Some spirits can be a little fiery. They could be a little bit hostile. They could be a little bit if you don't go about things in the right way, there could be problems. So it may be the type of spirits. And second of all, the method you're using. If you're lighting a candle to a Shem angel and saying a prayer, you're probably okay. But if you're going to start using a scrying crystal, which the way that I explain it to someone that has never heard of this stuff, a lot of magicians would be like, what are you talking about? That's ridiculous. Because I would say that it's very similar in a way. I try to be careful using this term, but it's kind of like a seance. Because you're trying to get a spirit to manifest in a scrying stone, or at least have an interaction in a scrying crystal. Okay. Now, it's not like a seance because it's not all totally open. It's not mediumistic. You know, there are a lot of things that you could say that this analogy isn't exact. But in the same way, when you're working with a scrying crystal, you're trying to call a spirit into a stone. Or at least where you can have an interaction in a scrying crystal. And you're trying to have some type of face-to-face communication through a physical medium. Now, scrying crystals, this is something that I plan to get into more. A lot of the classical sources recommend a clear glass crystal or a clear quartz crystal or just a clear crystal without blemish. And you could sprinkle it with holy water. I have a phone call. I can't answer it right now. Sprinkle it with holy water, anoint it, things like that. But whenever you're working with scrying crystals, I really recommend having some type of a magical circle. Now, there is a difference between a magical circle in modern magic is thought of as a wall of energy. And the classical grimoires, there's no reference. There may be a reference here or there talking about, I mean, it's not really there. If you look in the grimoires, you're never going to read in a classical grimoire where it says go to the east and push your energy in a circle around you and walk around pushing your energy from your aura or universal energy in a circle. It's just not really mentioned in the grimoires. A magical circle in the classical text normally refers to a double circle with the writing of divine names around it. Writing divine names in a circle around you. And these divine names are protective. So a lot of grimoires, they'll have like a double circle, and then you'll write the name in Hebrew around it. We'll go deeper into, the use of magical circles, but the idea is that evil spirits would not be able to cross the divine names. The names in the circle around you are themselves protective. Me personally, I think it's best to combine the modern approach as a wall of energy and the classical approach with the divine names written in the circle around you. So, it's actually pretty simple if you have a hardwood floor. If you have a hardwood floor or any kind of hard surface for your floor, chalk. Very simple. You can mark your circle with chalk. You can put it in the garage. Or if you have a hardwood floor, you can mark the circle with chalk. If you have carpet, or you don't want to do that, then you'll need to paint your magic circle on some type of a cloth. A large canvas is usually best. You can buy these large canvases. It's expensive, but it's worth it. You could paint it on a large canvas. Just something that you could comfortably stand or sit in and have a little table with a scrying stone within the circle. It doesn't have to be 9 foot or any particular dimensions. You just need to comfortably be able to sit inside this thing with a little stand and a scrying crystal. So I want to go a little bit deeper here into communicating with spirits. And we're going to go a little deeper in these videos. And I'm going to go a little bit more in depth into the construction of a magic circle. The main circle that I always recommend for people as a general magic circle is to use the divine names. It's actually taken from the Colorno Key of Solomon, a circle of consecrations from the Colorno Key of Solomon, and was adapted by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, with the 4 tetragrams, Yud, He, Vav, He in the east, Adonai in the south, Ehie in the west, Agla in the north. That's how I would do it, just like the classic pentagram. Just make a double circle and write Yud, He, Vav, He in Hebrew in the east, Adonai in the south, Ehie in Hebrew in the west, Agla in the north. My favorite way of doing this is to grind up some charcoal. Grind up charcoal, mix it with a little bit of holy water from a church, and mix it with some just black paint. So black paint, a little bit of holy water, and ground charcoal. Mix this together and you could paint your magical circle. So, if you're going to be working with things like scrying crystals, you could also buy magic circles online. For the purposes of these videos and the stuff that we're doing, I really recommend the divine names in Hebrew, because we're working with this classical Renaissance magic from that perspective. I would make sure that the divine names are in Hebrew. I would use Hebrew letters as well. But you can buy magical circles online, or you could paint your own. You could use a drop cloth, a large canvas. things like that. Um, so you could paint your magic circle, or you can mark it on the ground in chalk. Some people like to get blessed chalk from the church at Epiphany, and they call it holy chalk. But whatever the case may be, whether you're marking it in chalk or you're painting it onto some type of a surface, you're going to need a double circle, and you're going to write the divine names. Now, if you don't mind making different, you could even make different circles for different workings, such as planetary magic. You can use the divine names taken from Agrippa, where it talks about the magical squares of the planets. But hold on, I got a message here. All right. I hate doing that during my video. Basically, if you're going to start scrying with a scrying crystal to communicate with spirits, I really recommend some type of a magic circle. You could buy these online. You could paint them yourself onto a large canvas or a drop cloth. I would not recommend a sheet. It's just too soft a material. But you could paint it, mark it in chalk. You can do different things. But that's a distinction that needs to be made, is that in classical magic, the magic circle is understood to be these divine names, names of God, that evil spirits cannot cross. Now, and modern magic tends to see casting a circle, like you go to the east and you push the energy, a wall of energy around. I don't recommend just doing that for this type of stuff. I recommend also having it marked on the ground. I recommend combining these methods, having the circle marked on the ground and then casting the circle in kind of a modern way of doing things. Ritualistically, I would take the knife or a sword or just your hand and imagine that you're pushing energy as a boundary around you. The circle keeps bad stuff out, harmful stuff out. It's protective. In modern magic, a lot of it is seen as keeping energy in as well, so that it can build like a cone of power. It also forms a type of place that is not a place, and a time that is not a time, a gateway between the worlds. Now, I recommend using the Hebrew names. Some people like to put pagan names in there. As long as it works keeping the bad stuff at bay, I'm down with whatever. You're going to want to, when you get into your magic circle, you're going to want to sprinkle it with holy water. Classical magic, we have the asparagus formula. You're going to want to incense the circle. I would cast the circle. You're going to dedicate it to a divine purpose. Then you could sit down with your scrying crystal. Now, people ultimately can do whatever they want. But I highly recommend, each magician has his or her own way, and everyone has their own way of teaching. My way is to be careful, and my way is, if you're just lighting candles and then depending on the spirit, like Shem angels, I don't see a problem. Light the candles, say the prayer, try to have an interaction. My thing is, as soon as you have some type of a scrying device, whether it's a crystal ball or a glass of water or a black mirror, I think it's best to have some type of a protective barrier around you. And that is some useful homework, to either go out and buy a magical circle, make sure it's not too small, something you can just sit in and have a scrying stone and a stand. To paint one, buy one, or if you have some chalk and a hardwood floor, You don't want to mess up your floors, but you can mark it on the ground. All right. So those are some of the options with magical circles. And I just wanted to really drive home that the distinction between modern and classical magic. In classical magic, the circle was the divine names that evil spirits could not cross. Modern magic is more like an energy wall. I recommend combining these two methods. It never hurts to have extra protection. You can use the greater and the lesser, but you don't use the lesser and the greater, is what my grimoire magic teacher always taught me. What that means is, you could come into an operation that it's not that important to have all the protections, but you come in with all your protection anyways. You can do that. But you don't go into a dangerous type of ritual without being prepared. So the greater can be used in the lesser, not the lesser in the greater. So I really want people to start thinking about some magical circles. Either think about painting your own, and this will be an interesting thing for you to do as a student, to make your own magical circle. And doing that, you could do a lot more things with magic. You could start getting going a little bit deeper with your magic, with a magical circle. So that was just a quick video for y'all on Patreon. I hope everyone's doing well. And we'll go a little bit deeper here. But anyways, thank you so much, and I will see y'all in the next video. Have a great day, y'all.